Hey guys, it's Yoan. Welcome back to the Yoan Gaming Show and another episode of Mindustry Basics Intermediate Advance. I gotta come up with a better name, but thanks for coming back, guys. We're gonna talk about some higher end manufacturing this episode. We did the basics of manufacturing, now we'll do a little bit higher end manufacturing. So I've kind of slapped some things together for you guys so you can kind of see what's involved. So since we did the kiln, we're gonna talk about first we got the Lastania Compressor, which requires titanium and oil to make plastanium. So for oil, we got oil on the map here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you about how to get oil out of the oil lake. So just like water, you would use a pump and you place some down, but then you get oil coming out here. So just decide if you wanted to stop that because oil's flammable, you can cap it with a router or something else. It won't allow it to move until you put another piece there. Or in another case, if it was the end and you wanted to capture it, you throw a tank in there and that oil is gonna fill up that tank. So, but we need oil for our plastanium. We need titanium and we need oil. So what we can do is, I've got some titanium here for something else. We can just, we'll just, you know what, just for now, I'll just squeak by with this here. And we'll come across here. And we'll connect those. Come here. We want to get close enough to the power so that we can connect in, so. Okay, so now we'll place our Lastania Compressor. And it's taking in the titanium, but we're not giving it any oil. So let's give it an exit here so we can watch it come out. Make it go round and round. So we'll take our piping, we'll come across, down. So now it's going to start spitting out plastanium. Now the oil, this tank and stuff isn't quite full yet. What you could do is if you find that you're not quite getting the flow you want, you can add another pipe, have it come in and connect. So now you'll have the power of these two pumps, which will fill everything and keep it going full tilt. So there's that. That's the Lastania Compressor. Relatively simple. As long as you have oil on your map, it works out. And then just getting titanium over there. So that's done. Let's move on to our next setup. Phase Weaver. So what this does is make phase fabric, which is a pretty sought after item in the later part of the game. So we need thorium and sand. So I found some sand. We had some here along the oil lake, and we got thorium there. So we just set down our, well, let's just do that. We'll put that there. And we'll have our thorium come down in there. And our sand come up there. And then we give it a little bit of electricity. And then it'll start making the phase fabric. So this one's a little simpler. Sand and thorium. Thorium is pretty sought after. I mean, for ammunition, for your better guns, for power, like we talked about in the last episode. And we're still in the pluses. With all this stuff connected, we're still in the pluses. So we're doing pretty good. So that's the phase fabric. And sorry, I was just we got plastanium. Surge alloy. That's something we've got to talk about later. Surge alloy. So we got an alloy smelter, which makes our surge alloy, which we need if we want to make surge walls, which are very cool because they, what's the best way to describe it? Let's just durable defensive block. Builds up a charge when the bullets hit it. And releases it randomly. So it essentially absorbs the energy and sends it back at the enemy over time, which they can that can be very useful. So for making that in our alloy smelter, we need copper, lead, titanium, and silicon. So I built a silicon smelter and kind of branched off our coal and sand here to make it, because I knew we were going to make it. We're going to stick it there. So we got our surge alloy, we got silicon coming in, and I'll move this back over here, make room for our lead. Our lead comes down, copper's there, and then all we need to do, give it a little shot of power, and it'll start making the surge alloy. So I mean, in this case, you can see you have to go from your basics of lead and copper, and then now you got to add silicon, you're adding titanium. So we're adding things. You see how it kind of, when I talked about in the first episodes, you learned your basics, and then they kind of start to scale up. You need to know those basics, have a really good foundation to understand that, you know, when your basics being A, intermediate being B, and your end game is C. You need the ABCs for this, you know? Just you follow that. The hard part is managing your income of resources. I mean, using the titanium conveyor belts makes it way easier, because you're getting your resources so much faster than a regular conveyor belt would give you. So that is the surge, or the alloy smelter, to give us surge alloy. Now, what was the other thing? Oh, the coal centrifuge. So another thing that you can do is let's just branch off this oil. And if we take a coal centrifuge and put that there, what a coal centrifuge does is it solidifies oil into chunks of coal. So if you have oil nearby, but you need coal, you just power that thing up, and it just starts spitting out coal for you. Which, I mean, in this situation, you could hook it up to combustion generator and power things nearby with it. So I mean, oil to this to coal. So I mean, that's you know, jump, but you see how these little things all kind of work together to give us what we need. Now let's see where we're at here. The blast mixer. That's Pirate and Spore Pods. That's something I think we'll talk about in a later episode. Mainly because I haven't used them enough to explain it well. Jam was doing a lot of stuff with the spore presses and stuff when we did our big game, and when we were in the BBS and Jam, we were in like the 250s or something wave, starting to use the spore press for things, and I don't really know how to use that. So pulverizer, scrap into sand if you have an abundance of scrap on a map, but no sand. So that's always nice. Separator, slag, outputs. Wow, 4 different things. I've never used the separator, now that it comes to think of it. I think that was another endgame thing, because I mean, to make slag, you need the blast mixer? No. Sorry guys, I'm trying to remember which one gave me slag. Where are we here? Pulverizer? No. Wow. I don't remember. There's one of these. There you go. Scrap into slag. And then using that. Oh, I guess they're right beside each other. So the melter takes the scrap and turns it into slag. And the separator turns the slag into, you know, 4 different items. I think it's random. if I remember correctly, it kind of alternates between the different setups. So yeah, I think I'm going to end this episode here, guys. I know it's a little shorter than last time, but I think if I get everything prepped for you guys, it just takes a little bit less time, and then you guys get a better understanding of what you need to get to that point. I mean, all this stuff is far away from the core. Normally, you'd have this all pumping back to the core. Some things go to the core, some don't. So, I mean, you got to take that into account. A lot of times, you're making stuff to make something. So there's like different steps, right? Like we talked about the drill of the coal to make silicon, to make the alloy smelter, to give us our is it the phase? Yeah, the phase fabric. Right? Is it the phase fabric? Alloy smelter. Now I'm second guessing myself. Yeah, surge alloy. Not phase fabric. That's the phase fabric. Surge alloy. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna leave this episode here. I think this is gonna be it for a while. I gotta come up with, I guess, something more advanced for you guys. It might take some messing around. But I mean, once you're at this point, you're like 3/4 of the way into the final, like into the game, and that last 25% is the final big things, and those few little things we haven't touched on. I mean, there is the different bots that we can talk about. Walls are all kind of the same. They're just higher durability, and some actually hit back. And then we've got different pads you can use to change your ship, and then some other stuff here that maybe, you know what, maybe we'll talk about this advanced stuff, the bots and stuff in the next episode, just to give you guys an idea, because some of them are helpful. I mean, we've used some of them in our game. I know upgrading the ship to the glaive was a big deal, higher attacks. So, but anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Let me know how I'm doing in the comments, and as always, happy gaming.